doing, Honey Bunch?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Well, we've got a week left of school here, so we're recording this on the weekend before the first week in June because we always talk about the games that we've played over the course of the month, and we got a bit of work to do tomorrow, so we figured we'd do this on our day off, if you will, on Saturday. So hopefully you are enjoying our channel here, and you can sponsor us on patreon.com/Garrett's Games, and of course listen to the podcast, which is every week, and we're about 750 some odd episodes, so check them out. We're having a fun time over there, and that's every single week, couple of games, some of which now we're far enough ahead here in the podcast recording, the audio one, so that some of the games that you're going to see here that we played, we recorded a podcast for, but it's not going to come out until like the end of July. So we wanted also, that's one of the reasons why the videos are going, because we wanted to make sure that it stays fresh and you guys get to see some stuff as we're playing it, and then a much more detailed thing coming down in the audio in a couple
Just a little bit of a preview for you to see if that might fit your gaming needs.
Right, there you go.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these still are ones that we're trying to play, having purchased them over in Essen and such. Not all of them, but some of them. And so we've got 9 games to talk about. And I think we have a theme of pretty games for this month.
Incredible bits.
Yes.
And
beautiful art.
Presentations of the art. Yes.
But not all of those pretty games are for us or really for 2 players. So we've discovered that is part of the problem with a couple of these. All right. So I'll start. And the first one that we've got is a game called Harvest Island. Beautiful artwork. And this is a perfect example.
Unique artwork.
Yes.
I think it's beautiful.
I think it's beautiful.
I think it's unique.
It's odd in some ways.
It's
very kind of it's not realistic. It's impressionistic in some ways, but not impressionistic like Claude Monet or something.
It's more abstract.
Yeah, okay, all right. And I when we played this game, it took a bit to get into, but the more we played it, the more we actually really liked the game itself. It is a game that plays over 4 seasons. You got your 4 seasons. It tells you what different types of fruit are going to be growing in each of those seasons. So you've got spring, summer, fall, and winter, different decks for each of those. And then you have these cards, and either you can plant cards in the 3 fields that you've got, or you can harvest a field. And of course, the situation is that you can only plant one type of thing in a particular field, but you can harvest at any time. You have to seed it first. Those cards don't count. And then every other card, you're going to get the points for what's on it. And then there are little standees with little animals. And if you have the most of a particular type of fruit, or you harvest the most cards, I should say, from a particular thing, then you get this, and that's going to be worth points at the end of the game. The problem lies in, now I don't know if you can see this card, so this is the wax apple fruit, and it has the animal on it, but then down in the lower part is the fruit by itself. And the fruit by itself has a token which goes along the bottom of the board showing which of the fruit, where it is in terms of how many cards were harvested. So you can look over and see where it is, but if I've harvested 6, Shelley may want to get 7 out of the field. Well, if you look, see, there's the wax apple, and there's the wax apple by itself. Notice the color change? And that looks a little bit like the mango, or maybe even a little bit like the peach, depending upon how the light catches. So this is an example of interesting, I think, pretty nice art. And the art kind of gets in the way of one's ability to play. That said, I think it's a really solid game. Harvest Island, a fruit grower from Big Fun.
What you might be noticing is it sounds just like a simple set collection, like how is this a game or a game? But it does have gamer qualities in it because there's different amounts you can put in each field. There, you can determine when to harvest it.
You can harvest before a field is full.
There's some cards available and other ones that are coming in that you're discarding, and many times you have to discard cards that you actually want. It's very small hand, so it actually is quite fast and quite fun. We would definitely recommend it, but we wish the art was just a tad better. It would actually be a great game for to be republished with just the big pictures of the fruit, and then I think people would enjoy the game even more because you don't have any confusion factor.
Yes. All right. What's your first game, hon?
I think my first game is called Gobi, and this is by
Capsicum Games.
Capsicum. Yes, Capsicum.
Yeah.
Games, and this is a very much a game with lots of spatial components, and you're placing very big chunky tiles, which are gorgeous.
Big squares.
Yeah, and there's I think 5 different tribes, and you're putting them on the board based on certain rules. You can't put certain colors next to each other and the same color.
The same color.
And then you're trying to connect your camels into a camel train, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when you accomplish connecting up the same color to another color, then you get to you get a reward of something that can help you as you're playing the game, changing the rules slightly. It's a very simple, straightforward game.
Definitely. Very straightforward.
Or ones that just give you victory points, or some give you smaller amounts of victory points, or if you create longer camel trains, you get more. And every time you connect yours up, you're taking off the end pieces. So then you're continually having pieces to work with, but you're also trying to do some things like get somebody stuck in the middle, somebody stuck on the edge, maybe getting people on the same color as your opponent's pieces. So it's a very straightforward, sweet game. I recommend it. It is very spatial, but it is quite simple.
And it says 40 minutes, but you know, we in a 2-player, we played it in 15 to 20, I think.
It's quite fast.
Yeah, because everybody gets a stack of tiles at the beginning of the game, and you're just going to play through. Everybody's going to put their stack of tiles in turn order, and that'll be the end of the game.
And so you know exactly when it's going to end. You know if you should be going for something with high points or low points, or what you're trying to accomplish. And yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, Gobi. All right, let's see. Should I go bigger box? Yeah, I think, okay. So, we'll do this one. Okay, so a lot of people know this one.
Very big game.
Tapestry, Stonemeyer Games, you know, Jamie Stegmeyer, designer. It surprised everybody when it came out because, you know, they'd already put out Wingspan for the year. And it feels like a game that there's a lot going on, a lot of possibilities, a lot of strategies that I don't know that I want to explore. It's really pretty, as are really all beautiful Stonemeyer games. And, you know, I mean, you've got these great plastic bits that everybody has that are put on your player board. You've got then your capital, where you're placing different, you know, these bits and other possible buildings that you can get if you're the first to get to them in the draft, and you're trying to complete rows and columns in that area. You've got another main board where you are exploring and possibly coming into conflict. You've got different civilizations, and this is of course where there are endless strings on BGG and elsewhere talking about the different civilizations, to the point where they had to put out these civilization adjustments because some of them were way too powerful, and some of them we played 3 or 4 times and played with different civilizations each time, and it felt like some were definitely a lot stronger than others, even with the adjustments that we had. And I didn't know that I really wanted to explore the game anymore. Yeah. I want to play Viticulture again and again.
Yeah, we love that game. I want
to play Wingspan as a 2-player again and again.
2-player.
But I think I'm done with Tapestry.
Well, it is stunning in terms of the big, different shaped buildings and houses, and you have tracks to go on, and you get certain rewards when you go on the tracks, and it was fun enough, but it really didn't wow us. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Tapestry, Stonemeyer Games, play Viticulture or Wingspan.
That's our definitely strong opinion on that one. Well,
we're going small.
Another game. This is Second Chance by Uwe Rosenberg and Stronghold Games, and Of course, everybody knows Uwe.
Now, before we get into this, so this is the first version of the cover. And when
Okay.
Stronghold put this out over here, they have a different version so that it matches the Twice as Clever game. So I'm probably
Yes.
right now in post putting a picture of it like right down here. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a really good kind of thought for the game, because probably the same type of people would be interested in
Yeah,
it.
sure.
And the shape and the design cover will attract people to it. But this is such a sweet, awesome 5-minute game.
5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's so fast. You have a 9x9 grid, and you have different pieces like a la patchwork or a cottage garden, those type of things.
Tetris.
Yeah, Tetris pieces, but all kinds of really, really different ones than just that.
Sure.
And there's some cards that let you know how many of each type there are.
Mm-hmm.
And your goal is to be the last one in and also have covered the most on your
You don't want to actually, I mean, that was the interesting thing. You don't necessarily want to be the last one in. You want to fill your board.
Fill your board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
so
you have 2 cards as examples. So you get to
2
choose.
possibilities
Each
each
of you
round.
could choose the same card or a different one.
Yeah.
So you're trying to figure out the best way to fit them, and it's quite fun.
Yeah, it is. And what the kind of cool thing is that it's possible to drop out earlier but still win, because not only do you, as the first person to drop out, get to write a number 1 in a square that didn't fill in, and you're out. You don't get to play anymore. You get to just watch. But you, at the end, it's the number of squares that you didn't fill. Whoever has the least, that's it. And that one fills one of those squares. So we had one game where we were tied, but Shelley won because she
so much
dropped
fun.
out first.
Yeah, yeah. But it's called second chance because maybe there's one time where the 2 come out closer to the end, obviously,
that's true.
where you then...
If you can't do either of them.
You can't place them. It's not by choice. You just can't. You get to flip over one card, and if you can put it in, you're like, second
Get
chance.
a second chance,
And
exactly.
you get to put that in. Otherwise, your turn is over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really nice addition to Stronghold's line of the small box roll and write, or in this case, draw and draw.
Definitely.
All right. Our next one is Trial of the Temples. This is the first of 2 games that we played this month by Emperor S4, and I think this is a good game, but it's the lesser of the 2, I would say, because we really like the next one that Shelley's going to talk about next. And this one is a game, a set collection game, where you're setting up this round, this circle in the middle, and then you've got these spokes that come out around it, and that determines kind of this array of possible items that you're going to collect, various crystals, or what do they call them, spell cores. And you have
Cubes.
Yeah, exactly. Cubes and crystals. And you are going to use those crystals to advance on the various tracks. And as you get into areas, you're going to score the points that are in that particular area if you've gotten that far. But you also have this board in front of you, and you can place the spell cores that you get in either by collection or in different ways. And if you place on a particular spot, well, these would mean that you get to save some crystals till the next round, which usually you don't get to do. Or maybe it's going to give you some points or some extra stuff, and then it gives you a conversion chart where you've got mana that you can get and spend that to get crystals. But I think the coolest part about it is not only do you have this collection of stuff, but one of the things of stuff that you got to collect are actions. Yes, there's little tokens that are the actions. You could collect 15 crystal and have one single action. And then you're going to have to trade in crystals to get more actions and do all the swapping out and stuff. So I like it. I don't love it, but it's got some cool little mechanisms in it, and it works pretty well as a 2-player, either very open if you want to play just straight 2, or you can each have 2 pieces, and that kind of narrows and restricts the different gaps, because it's the gaps that determine how many of the various pieces that you're going to collect.
Yeah, and so you're switching from day to night, you're flipping over pieces, so there's a little bit of a fiddly component to it, and there's quite a bit of spatial skills necessary to play the game. So it is fun. You're really trying to use your cores, these cubes, to have certain powers while you're playing, or certain points, or certain ability to hold over crystals, because otherwise you can't hold them over. So there's you really have to think, do I want to get a lot of stuff and maybe not do much with it? Or do I just want to get a few things so that I can do one or two important things? So you're really trying to get what you need, but the other players are going to also probably want those things. And purple is hard to get. The nighttime actions are hard. So you're just really trying to get some pieces and do something each time. I guess that's what I'm going to say.
Trial of the Temples, Emperor S4 for 2 to 4 players.
Well, now the game we loved is called the Eastern Mechanist Jiguan. And I was like...
Yeah, Jiguan, the Eastern Mechanist. I think the Eastern Mechanist is the subtitle.
Oh, okay. It's up at the top. So we just called it Jiguan. Or I called it Tiguan.
So I would say...
is it T1?
This was the highlight of the month. We really love Second Chance, too, because it's nice and short. And we can get that in
5
right
minutes.
before dinner.
Boom,
As we're waiting for the water to boil to cook some pasta or something.
Right.
But this is awesome.
This game has so much going on, and you're like thinking the whole entire time. It's got some kind of a theme about building robots,
mechs.
And so the theme really doesn't matter, but what does matter is you have a circle board that you're trying to get different gears. And I didn't undo this one because it's kind of just bizarre. I mean, it's got unique little robots, drawings, and stuff like that. But basically, you're working on getting energy or getting money. And with those things, you'll do certain actions. And
so you got this 3x3 grid, and you're placing these gears that you're drafting off this circular board. And then you can either draft those gears, or once they're on the board, you can spend gears in a line to create the mechs that are standing around and even at the diagonal. When you do that, you have to remove 2 of the 3 gears. And by the way, a row has to be completely filled for that to happen.
And each mech has to have a certain number of
value,
or you have to pay with some of your energy and things to adjust it. And basically, you're trying to get 5 different temples up in their colors.
There are 5 different temples,
and each time you go up in those, that means you've accomplished a card, or you've accomplished building one of these blueprints. Then you get a reward, and some of those rewards are getting to pick something from those columns. So you're constantly looking at the board, which is changing. And in those columns, there's so many awesome things that you can do.
Definitely.
And maybe you made a purple little mech, but you're looking in the purple column. You finished the purple mech because you really needed to get something that was red that was in the column there, because all of them come out into different columns. So you see what's coming, and you're trying to make the mech that you need in order to get something from the column that you really think is going to help you. And as the game is building, it becomes more expensive to do each of the actions.
That's true.
So it just has this wonderful feel of building and trying to finish, and exactly the circle's only gonna get emptied twice. And you're getting these gears, they have to be next to each other.
And you have a scoring at the end of each of the 2 rounds. And as you take those gears, and you're always going to take 2 gears that are right next to each other, there's 2 things on the gears versus the color and then the number. Now, the color corresponds to when you put it on that 3x3 grid. If the color matches the mechs that are in that line, that row, column, or diagonal, you get energy from that. But then the number on it is what, adding up the 3 values that are in that row, column, or diagonal to make the mech, and it has a particular number. So say a mech has a 9 on it, and you've drawn the purples, which are 5. Well, you don't want to get another 5 and then a 4, then you're at 14. All you need is a 9. You'd not be able to do that very well. It would take forever to decrease that value, right? So you're instead maybe get that 5, and then you get a 2, and a 3. And now you're at 10, and you just got to reduce it by 1 to get it to 9. So it's just this wonderful think as you go through. And it was the one that we played it. And Shelly kind of looked at it and went, wow, this looks a lot going on. But it's quick. The only qualm that we had about it is that it's pre-punched, and you can't pick up the pieces to save your life.
They're very small. You're like, you have to slide them off the table. Just you get your finger and slide it, and then you do need to be turning in things quite a bit. So great game. Because you're taking off these pieces, you're really thinking about some of the other mechs that you're trying to make. Yeah. So you're really contemplating the colors that you're going to be removing. Yeah. You're trying to get energy by spreading certain colors in those columns. Yeah. And it is just so much fun.
Awesome. Jiguan, the Eastern Mechanist from Emperor S4. All right. Next for me is one we just played today. Got it in under the wire. This is Tajuto from Abacus Spiele, and it's by Reiner Knizia. And this is a perfect game of we really wanted to like it better than we did. I think it would be better with 2 players.
Wait, no, you mean...
sorry, with more than 2 players.
We played it too, and we were like, okay, yeah, it's fine.
It's got these great 8 different colored pagodas.
Look at this. It's going to make a huge pagoda.
Yeah, you turns out beautiful. Put them together, and they stack. Now, you're going to do it all in one color, but I'm just getting the ones that size.
Yeah, so you can see like a little bit of it. Yeah.
Get stacked like that, okay? And so the idea here is that you have a turn, and you have 3 possible actions that you can do on a turn, and you can do those possible actions 3 times. The first time it's free, and then you have to pay in, what is it?
What is it called?
Your meditation points. Meditation points. Because ultimately, meditation points are what you spend to gain spirituality points at the end. All right? So you've got your meditation points, and you can do 1 action, because you start with 0 because you haven't meditated much. And
I don't like.
I know. It felt,
you should come in with a little bit.
A little bit of meditation
to get
going
you
on.
started.
And part of the problem, I think, is the game is it felt very prescriptive at the beginning. You're going to draw a piece out of the bag, and notice, you can't see the color, but you can feel for the size, and you're going to want to draw one of the big pieces.
Which is easy to find, because that one you can feel really well.
If you can build it, you must, and you build it in the red spot, and you get 1 meditation point for building the first level of a thing. If I then pulled the second level of red and I built it on top of the first, I'm going to get 2 meditation points. And so I build up, it builds up very slowly. But then there are some kind of cool aspects, because you can spend meditation points to buy tiles. That's the second possible action. And then you have cubes in 1 of each in 8 of the colors, and what the third action is putting a cube, and it's very cool because all of these have a little spot right in the middle, and if I had the orange cube, I could put it on the orange spot, and I get 2 points for placing the cube, or meditation points, plus a point for every level that is below the cube.
The meditation points again.
And then subsequently, you can cover over a cube that had been placed, one that you placed or something else, and you get a point for every level plus 2 points for the cube. So if I had a cube on the 3rd level that had been placed at some point, and I built the 4th level, I'm going to get 4 plus 2, 6 meditation points. And then at any point during that round, I can build first or last or whenever to build up my meditation points, and then I could spend those to get tiles, which are just straight victory points.
Which is the with the flower on them.
No, that's with the Buddha on them,
Buddha,
right?
Okay.
And then well, the lotus flower is the symbol, the the spirituality points. And then there's ones that modify the cost of those or increase the value of those. There's tiles that if the pagoda that they're associated with completes, you get 4 points. If that pagoda doesn't complete, and only 4 of the pagodas complete, that's the end game. If it doesn't complete, you get 0 points. And then there are others where you can buy actually extra actions, which then would be free going forward. And it was that prescriptive start is part of the problem.
Yeah.
And so it gets
Or maybe,
better,
maybe
but it then...
maybe that's also 2-player. Like, I think if you started with 3 bases already out and everybody started, let's say 3 points, then you could, I mean, not 3 points, but 3 meditative actions.
Right.
Basically, these are going to be your actions that you're going to be continually going backwards, and then you're going forwards and backwards
Action
and forwards.
points,
Yeah, it's, buying victory points or buying things that give you more points later, and stuff like that.
Or more actions.
Yeah, more actions.
So it was good.
It's good, and the pieces are great, and there is that spatial component of reaching in the bag and pushing your luck and trying to get maybe the pagoda that you're wanting to score because you've kind of hedged your bets on one of them scoring, which would give you victory points, and if it doesn't, you don't get those victory points. So you want one of those to happen.
Sure.
So you can kind of feel you're going to not always get it right. And that's okay because they are so similar. And when we would pull them out of the bag, oftentimes there would be like 2 or 3 pieces within the base of one of the other pieces.
That's true. They get stuck together.
So you obviously was the one you had your hand out on, so it's not a big deal. But then you put those pieces back in, and then you put it out. It does make a pretty end result.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. It
so
looks really beautiful on the table. It's just not as fun as I expected it to be for what we've got.
Yes, most definitely.
All right,
but
2 more games here.
Oh, 2 more?
Yeah, yours and then...
okay. Well, now talk about a beautiful game. This one will blow your brain.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
called Save the Meeples by Florian Sirix.
Sirius.
Yeah.
He did Montmartre,
which is also
awesome.
a beautiful, stunning game.
Love
Which
that one.
and we really like that. It's just a fast card game, but really stunning.
This is over the top in terms of production.
This
though.
beauty is
There's so many levels.
Hard to imagine. It's the 3D component of the beauty. That's okay, but that's just one of the rocket ships. They come in different sizes, of course, because you're going to be saving your meeples in many ways, and
from the crazy humans who will use them and abuse them in games.
In games, yeah. So I mean, the theme is quite interesting
totally awesome.
Too. It has trains that go to each of the stations.
Yeah, there's little hookups,
we have to take it
hookup.
apart but it hooks together, and you're moving your meeples back and forth, and you're taking them to different stations where you either get resources, or you get more meeples, or you get to help build the rocket ship and send it out. But in each station is these beautiful cards. They're 3-dimensional. I don't know if you can actually see how stunning they are. And they stand up really well too, which is hard to imagine.
Fold out here.
Yeah, each of these pieces fold out. So the beauty factor is really unbelievable.
And a lot of that is not completely necessary.
No.
Especially that part that Shelley just showed.
Yeah,
but it's really beautiful.
Yeah,
definitely.
And it takes up a huge space.
Yeah, it does.
Because you're like, wow, because you have to move the meeples, and of course you're going to put them on a train, and you're going to move them across the board to their different areas. But the game itself is really fast actions, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, it says 20 to 40 minutes or 30 to 40 minutes, which is totally appropriate.
Right.
Because, and you can even play, there's a short game and a long game, because there are 2 different triggers to the end game.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, which is either 2 rocket ships blast off to the Meeple planet and
save those
and
meeples.
those are saved. And then the people get points for, and then the players get points for the Meeples that got saved.
That's one way.
Or too many humans have invaded, and then you get points for having however many humans you fought. Yeah, exactly.
So what's interesting about that is, some people could be working towards one way of ending the game, and other people could be working towards other ways, especially in a multiplayer. That aspect would be very exciting.
Yes.
So you want to save your meeples, but maybe you don't really care about that so much because you're going to be fighting a bunch of the people.
Right.
But
which takes great sacrifice, because they come in back injured, and then they have to be repaired over the course of numerous rounds.
And the people come in real fast, and you already start with a bunch of people in the forest.
Yeah.
And every time you move a train to one of the stations, and that's all you're doing is you're either putting your meeples on
a train,
one train, and you can only put so many on, 1, 2, or 3, depending on players and such like that. And then another action is just move the train into a station.
Right.
Doesn't even have to be full train.
And then you do all the actions based on that, taking them out from the front to the back though they have to go in from the back to the front.
So that's really interesting. And when you're getting off the stations, each station needs a certain amount of meeples to do a certain type of action.
Right.
And they can only do one type of action when they go there. So there's many, and they take different numbers. So you're really thinking about quite a bit with that. But another action is just to pull the station back and then
Pull the train back.
To pull the train back from the station and taking your pieces. And if they need
Then
to be
you
in
get
the
the meeples
hospital,
back
they
there,
go in the hospital area and they go through a healing process. But you're just taking them back. So the actions are like this.
Yeah.
So you really do feel it's involved.
Definitely.
And you it's fun. But it is far, the beauty factor really kind of oversees how the game play itself.
And I think that, as you kind of were alluding to, that this would play better with 3 or 4 players rather than the 2 that we have.
But you're not going to ever feel like this is a slow game.
No,
because
that's true.
There's so many. You could pull this train back. You could do a bunch of ones where you pull the train back, and when you pull the train back, you get these happiness or these sadness coupons or tokens, which then you use to do different powers, and you need a certain amount of them to do certain things. And
Other actions.
so you sometimes you might just choose to do that, but whenever you move a train into a station, a bad human comes on.
Those bad humans.
And that's why the game keeps progressing very quickly.
Right.
Because you got to go over there and start dealing with the humans, or you're going to be in trouble. Yeah. Or you're going to need to kill them. Is it killing them or just hurting them?
You get rid of them.
They're gone.
You vanquish
I
them.
guess they got dead.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And so this is Save the Meeples
Save
from
the
those
Meeples.
evil humans.
Yes.
Exactly. All right, our last game is another really beautiful game, and I like this stylized thing. So I like the pastels. This totally fits like a California vibe and so on.
And it's
this
a
is
beach,
from
so
AEG Santa Monica. I had to get it, and this is another I think good example of a game that will play better with 3 or 4 players. It's 2 to 4, and it is a card drafting game. And so you have a row of cards that are available, a row of cards that will slide in. So in a 2-player game, it's a perfect example of how there isn't a lot of that turnover and churning of the cards.
Yeah.
Though, that said, you have a little bit more control over what does churn. But if you have 4 cards that aren't very good for your thing and you have to draft one, it's a little frustrating. And you're putting them into your own tableau, and you are either putting them on the beach side or the shopping side. You get meeples possibly with cards. Those go into various areas, can be moved depending on various actions that you do, and you want to move them into particular spots, or else they're going to score negative points if they don't get into a spot that they like before the end of the game. It's a fairly
low-scoring game, too.
Pretty low scoring, yeah.
Because you really do need to get your meeples to certain locations, and you have abilities to make them walk. Some cards give you abilities to make your people walk, but the pieces are pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
There's a food truck, and
they're pink.
And
Shelley
they're
likes
pink,
that.
and I definitely
yeah. But the
like that.
meeples have
There's specific types of meeples.
The tourists have little cameras hanging around, and then of course the locals they've got their sunglasses on because they're cool.
They're cool, and they like to go into the water more. So, and you're trying to get certain buildings, building types next to each other, and in lines, because you'll score points that way too.
Yes.
So you might not just you're never going to get negative points, but there are ways to gain more points, and you have a specific type of goal to start off. And it's fun, and the pieces are wow.
So Santa Monica is our last game. Solid game for 2 to 4 players. I think better, or it would be better with 3 or 4. All right, that's 9 games that we played over the course of our May busy time here. We are looking forward to having you guys listen, as we always do, to the podcast every week. Got to keep those coming to your ears. So sponsor the podcast and this channel. Subscribe down below if you would. We want more subscribers. Tell your friends. Pass along. Share the video. And we look forward to coming to you with more videos, of course, over this course of the summer. Stay safe, and hope everybody's doing well out there. Bye.